it's Bill, and you're tuned in to episode number 63 of 3 Questions and a Song. We are here with Caleb, also known as Legion, from Emzy Enzy. So this is the podcast where the title says it all, except for when it doesn't, which is pretty much every show.
Yeah, from what I've seen. That's the fun part, though.
Well, 3 questions was, the idea in the beginning was this was supposed to be my short one out of everything I do, but much like you, I can't do it.
Yeah, no, I understand. Talking. Turns into 3 questions and 6 answers and a limerick and a halftime show. Yeah, I get it. That's all good, man. I'm happy to be here.
So I'm already gonna I have my 3 questions, my 3 official questions over here on my left.
Yes, sir.
But I already have a question that I'm gonna ask that has nothing to do with those 3.
That's awesome. We're off to a fantastic start.
That's right. All right. So my question is that I met you because we're both involved with First Angel Media, but the difference is I'm in the Pittsburgh area and you're in the Austin, Texas area. How did you come about finding First Angel Media?
I believe, with my shoddy memory, that I'm pretty sure it was Joe, who was, I don't really know how he found us. I don't know if he was like a fan of Emzy Enzy's page or if he was just a member of our group, our Metal Machines and Madness group, but he started posting First Angel Media reviews in my groups, in my Emzy Enzy group and my solo page group. And I really enjoyed his reviews and enjoyed the music that he was reviewing. So I wrote him about one because we were working on an album at the time called Version, which was our last record, came out last year. And I was about 2/3 of the way done with it. And I hit him up about a review and he said yes, and got to know the album real well, got to know me real well through getting to know that album. And we both been through some similar things. I mean, not really similar things, but like, I guess the story I was telling on that album registered with a story that he went through, even though they're 2 totally different stories. And we kind of just, you become friends with people like that when you connect on something like, wow, yeah, man, I've been through the runs too. Anyway, so we just became friends. And then so First Angel Media became my go-to for, I got to know John a little bit and Anthony and a couple other people little by little, just reading stuff, sharing stuff. And I just started sharing everything because I just really liked what First Angel Media was doing, and I got to know Brutal Business and BTMX. And I was kind of like in a funk and in a rut the first few years of the 2010s because I just wasn't finding music that was exciting me, in any genre. And I'm a pretty open-minded guy. I listen to all kinds of music. Hey, it's Pat. What's up, Pat? But yeah, man, I don't know, like just going down the rabbit hole of those 3 intertwined little businesses. I was like, this is like what I've been looking for. So I just started sharing everything. And then next thing I knew, they were asking me to write for them. And I enthusiastically said yes, because I don't know. I think that the industry needs more things like that. It's such an innovative platform because it's kind of like a media website, but it's not just that. It's kind of like a management company, but it's not just that. It's kind of like an artist. It's almost like an artist collective, but it's not just that. In some ways, it operates almost like a record label, but it isn't really that at all. It's totally. I've never seen anything like it, and BTMX obviously has some similarities. Brutal Business has some similarities, and I've always been real interested in that kind of multimedia approach, just having your hands in all of the pies, A few years ago, Emzy Enzy was connected to a multimedia production company called Snout Productions. That when Dusty died, the guy that started the band with me, I didn't start it with him. He started it and included me. That really is the right way to say it. And then I inherited it. I couldn't really do both by myself. So I put the production company to bed, but that was always like and still really in a lot of ways, it is our approach to how we release content, like from our album art to our music videos, it's all world building, and so there's a multimedia aspect to everything we do. And that's what attracted me to First Angel Media, is that there's a multimedia aspect to everything we do there as well. And I'm allowed to like come up with ideas, like I hit Jonna up like, hey, what about a Spotify playlist of like First Angel artists? She was like, yeah, absolutely. And it's everybody's in it to, build everybody up. I don't know. So I'm really pleased and feel fortunate to be a part of it, particularly that I don't live in the Pittsburgh area. It's kind of kismet.
Well, the thing with First Angel is like she finds a niche for you and then says, what else can you do?
Yeah.
Or in my case, she sends you a camera and says, here, start doing this.
Yeah, that's how I got the jazz article. Was she was like, I want you to interview this guy. This is gonna be a longer one. You know what I mean? He's not in your like genre at all, but I love jazz, man. That was one of the coolest conversations I've ever had. So it's connected me to a lot of really cool people.
Yeah, jazz from Half Will, Homicide, Black Silk,
yeah,
Rattleclack Entertainment, and many other things.
He does everything. Exactly. These are my people. People that just like, God, I just want to do. I want to build a house now. I don't know how, but I'm gonna figure it out. Like those kind of people.
Hey, Charlie.
Hello, Charlie. So yeah, I don't know. That was just kind of it was an interesting little twist of several events lining up together, but here we are. So
it should also be mentioned that you have collaborated with Patrick from Seethe or Brutal Business Entertainment.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Pat is one of my favorite metal vocalists I've discovered probably in the past year or so. Like I discover like 1 to 2 artists a year that like kind of make me go, whoa, this makes me reconsider like how I do what I do, And Pat is one of those artists, and it's cool that I also get to call him a friend and a collaborator now. But I from Seethe to 9 Stitch Method to South of Clarity, he has that aspect that all the vocalists that inspired me growing up have, where it's like when you hear Pat, it's Pat. You cannot mistake. Seethe. You can't mistake that voice for any other voice. It is 100% Patrick McElravy. Which is why I wanted him on a track and why I put him in the middle of it because. Oh, are you still? Gosh, Pat, I didn't see you there. He's also a little bit of a punk, just to keep him humble. No, I'm just kidding, Pat. I love you, dude. No, but why I dropped him in the middle of the track is because I kind of wanted that whoa moment where it's like, I love features. I love collaborations. That's something I take from being a huge hip hop fan from even before I was into metal. I love when people pop up I love jazz for the same reason. Like I love when people just pop up and just like, hey, we're in the same vicinity. Let's do something. We're not in the same vicinity. Let's do, it's 2021. You don't have to be in the same vicinity now. But that whole idea of just like, let's all be on each other's stuff, which Brutal Business does a lot of anyway. You know what I mean? Everybody's on everybody's. Like one of my favorite things that come out of that company is with the song Pat did with Mad Clock. I'm addicted to that song. I love all these little like one-off collabs. So I really wanted to get my hands on that, but I wanted to have that moment in the middle of the song where you're like, oh, that's Seethe. You know what I mean? This ain't just Emzy Enzy anymore. That's Pat. So yeah, it's cool, man. I know it's connected me to cool artists and cool people, and there's more collabs that there's other. I can't really say with who yet, but I'm talking to like multiple people right now.
So that actually leads very well into the first official question that I have.
All right, cool.
Which is, I see that you release music both as Emzy Enzy and as Caleb.
Yeah.
How do you decide where the music falls?
So there's a little bit of history behind that question. To go back to what I was saying earlier is I did not start Emzy Enzy. It was not my idea. This band was started by I co-founded it. Yes. Like I was there from the ground up and I had a lot of creative influence into what it ultimately has become and was even then, that's the only reason I'm qualified to still do it is because I did have a hand in the aesthetic, but the original idea and concept was never mine. It was my best friend, Dustin Johnson's, who died in 2015. And thus Emzy Enzy did for a little while too, for about 3 or 4 years, the band didn't exist because I didn't think it could exist without him. My bass player, Bill, twisted my arm. And after a while, I started writing music that I thought was within that wheelhouse, And so the band kind of came back. So even though what's kind of happened, and maybe it's not so, it wasn't intentional, and maybe it's not so accurate, is I've become the face of Emzy Enzy since Dustin died. And a lot of that is because my bass player, my guitar player have their own things going on and just don't really want to be part of this part of things. But that being said, Emzy Enzy is not just me. I'm not Emzy Enzy. I'm 1/3 of it. I write all the music, yes, but being in a band, any musician can tell you so much more than writing the music. You know what I mean? My bass player Bill is like basically our merchandise captain. He handcrafts and engineers every single bit of our merchandise himself through processes that he designs himself, things that I could never in a million years do. And he puts his own pocket into it and his own back into it. And he makes amazing stuff. We're actually going to have a merch sale on the 14th of this month. And he's got stuff that's just going to blow everybody's mind. Our guitar player, Chris, is also, he's a synth player. He has a band called Skeletal Shroud that I also sing for. And we're doing an EP with that project as well. And we basically barter. He plays guitar in my band. He replaced Dusty as guitar player when Dusty died. And I sing for his band because he needed a singer. So we trade. But he also, he's a gardener. And one of the things that's going to be on our merch table on the 14th, it's a virtual merch. It's going to be on Facebook. But one of the things that's going to be on our merch table is a homemade tea brew that he's creating called Black H Brew. And it's going to be exclusive to Emzy Enzy. It's an Emzy Enzy sponsored tea brand. I can never do that. Only he can do that. You know what I mean? They prefer that I write all the music at this point. When Dusty was alive, it was about 50-50, the two of us. Our first two records, Fallen H Volume 1 and Fallen H Volume 2, those are 50-50, me and Dusty. I'm about half of both of those. When he died, I took over as the writer because he and I had been doing it for so long. Bill was kind of a newer member. And he's written some music that became songs for the band, but at this point, they're more comfortable with me kind of dictating the musical direction, and then they kind of gravitate towards the world. They put their own stamp on it in the merchandise or in the stage show, or even just helping pay for things. You know what I mean? So, and also Emzy Enzy, as experimental as it is, at the end of the day, it's got a pretty identifiable sound. My solo stuff does not. It's all over the place. It could be a hip hop track, a jazz track, a rock ballad, an instrumental string quartet thing. It could be like some long avant-garde piece. It could be a pop single. It could be anything, completely based on my mood, which is why I do it under my own name, because Caleb Straus could be anything. You know what I mean? Like my last record under Caleb Straus was called Entries, and it's a collaboration record. It's just me working with different artists. Every track is just with a different artist. You know, there's like 2 or 3 artists did 2 tracks with me, but it's basically me reacting to someone else's musical language. You know, like some tracks I would do the skeleton and I'd send it to maybe first track's got guitar player named Eddie LaFlash from an industrial band called Decent News, plays guitar on the first track, Get Cozy. It's not a metal song at all, though. It's basically an R&B song, but it's got this huge thrashy moment right in the middle that I wanted like a really sharp, groovy guitar line for. And I love Decent News' music. So I reached out to Eddie, hey, would you come up with a riff for this? So that was one process. Next track was an instrumental that was completely composed. I didn't have anything to do with it, from a composer called Local, who sent me the track, and then I put vocals on it. I reacted vocally to what he did musically. There's another track that I actually wrote for Dusty, my guitar player who died, called On the Wings of Bees. His stage name was Bees, that I did with a band called Revolution, where I created a demo of the song, sent it to them, and they basically gutted everything except for my vocals and and they performed the song under me. So not every song was the same process. Not every song was with the same people. So what I got was basically what's kind of like what I would consider a pop record, but every song's got kind of a different language to it. But what makes it a pop record is it's real hooky, you know, and my solo stuff tends to be very, very hooky, very popish. Even if it gets a little heavier, a little edgier, it's very catchy. They tend to attract different audiences, really.
I feel like the answer to that question is going to feed really well into Doug's question at the end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I got to kind of say part of what I had in mind for that question just now. So, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So official question number 2.
Okay.
If Emzy Enzy could open for any band in the history of the world, who would you open for? Where would you want to perform? And why that band?
9 Inch Nails, which may even sound cliche for my genre. I really don't care. That's the honest answer, because if it were not for the Downward Spiral, I would have never picked up a keyboard, and I would not be sitting here talking to you right now. And it's all Trent Reznor's fault. So 9 Inch Nails, I don't care where, anytime, anywhere, any place. I think but not just like from like a fanboy perspective either, though. I think it would be a good match. We don't really sound a lot like 9 Inch Nails, to be honest. We're a bit heavier than they are. There's an influence, I guess, that's sort of undeniable. A lot of textures and stuff that maybe they do, but yeah, I don't know. I just think it would be an interesting pair. It's like aesthetically they match, but they're different. So, yeah. As far as where, I don't care. Anywhere.
All right. So we are going to be playing one of your tracks today. Cool. Narcissistic Cyborg.
Yeah.
With the album art here behind me over my shoulder with the laser eye.
Yeah.
It's part of a 2-album drip release that you have going on. So can you tell us a little bit about the way you're doing the release, and then tell us a story about the song itself?
Definitely. So yeah, we are drip releasing 2 records right now. One is the album Creme, which Narcissistic Cyborg is the first track of. And then my track with Seethe, My Kindness, is track 2. So those two, the first 2 tracks of Creme are already out. And you're about to hear the first one. And that is a very heavy, very metal influenced record. It's really not a pure metal record, but it's the most metal influenced thing we've done. There's always been kind of an element of metal to us, but for whatever reason, the music that I started writing for this world, this world of Creme, just came out very like, it's just a lot of double kick and a lot of like really heavy guitars, but it's also really groovy and really catchy. You know, there's a lot of hooks on it too. There's a lot of melody, but it's just, it's very like molten sounding, you know? So it's very metal sounding. It just seemed appropriate. The second record we're working on, and the first single of that comes out actually in 3 days on August 6th. The single's called Broken Machine Blues, and that is track 1 off of the record Beelzebourbon. And Beelzebourbon is kind of like if it were a world, you know, if Creme's a world, Creme's like a planet made of lava. If Beelzebourbon is a world, it's a dark jazz lounge on the 3rd rung of hell. But it's not an unpleasant place necessarily, you know. It's like I think that might be the first Dante reference that's made on. Yeah, it is. It is a little bit of a Dante nod, but it's not necessarily. It's not fire and torture and all this. You know what I mean? It's like you're sitting in a bar. It's low lighting. You're sipping a scotch. You're listening to some like really low endy, like Angelo Badalamenti jazz, like some David Lynch soundtrack stuff. And it's like you're kind of at peace, but you're kind of sad too, because you're just thinking about things. That's the vibe of Beelzebourbon. And so the first track that's coming out on Beelzebourbon, Broken Machine Blues, it comes out on August 6th on all streaming platforms everywhere. There's also going to be a music video that stars myself and my son, Liam. It's going to be really cool. It is basically it's an non-traditional remix of our single Symphony of the Broken Machine. Now, Symphony of the Broken Machine is a really heavy, death metal-y, like techno gabber drum, but like death metal guitar, screamy, really brutal song. We either close or open our sets with it every time. Really heavy song, right? Real Slipknot influence. It's just really fast-paced and just brutal, but it's got this big anthemic melodic chorus. So what I did is I basically rearranged the same song, rewrote a few lyrics ever so slightly, and transformed the song into something off the soundtrack of Twin Peaks. And the whole album's going to sound like that. There's not going to be a single bit of distortion on it. And I'm never going to raise my voice. Not a single note of it is going to be loud. Is basically the sonic opposite of Creme. So we're doing about a track a month, zigzagging between the two. You know, I'm a little off schedule because I did 2 tracks of Crim and now I have 1 of Beelzebub. So, but from here on out, we're going to zigzag between the two, month to month. You're going to get Crim 1 month, Beelzebub next month, Crim 1 month, Beelzebub next month, until both albums are completely out. Both albums will be 10 tracks long. So at the end of the process, there will be 2 full-length records out. But every song on Beelzebub is a remake of a song we've done, but in that style. So those are the 2 projects. So Narcissistic Cyborg was actually originally not supposed to be a song. I can't remember why at the time, but I didn't have time, or I was sick or something. I couldn't record music for whatever reason, and I had the creative itchies. You know, I just had to make something. And I'd been thinking a lot, like post-pandemic, about like my social media use and the social media use of humankind at large, and how we all kind of gravitated towards it, I think, because we were boxed up and we were lonely, you know. But what happened is we got into Facebook or to Snapchat or to Twitter or whatever, and we just started tearing each other apart, you know, and nobody was listening, but everybody was yelling, and everybody they didn't really want to solve anything. They just wanted to be right. They just wanted to win, you know, myself included. I'm not innocent of this. I think this was a very widespread human behavior, but it got me thinking about social media in the context of our civilization and this stage of it in general, and how it helps and hinders us. And I noticed that we as humans have this habit of, and we've been doing it since we discovered electricity, since we started industrializing our civilization, we've been doing this. We find a need. We feel the need to maximum efficiency. Then we start abusing how we filled the need. Then we blame the thing we made in order to fill the need. And we take absolutely no responsibility for ourselves. Point of that is the internet has no consciousness. Facebook has no consciousness. Twitter has no consciousness. It is all in how people choose, boy, you remember that word, to use it. You know what I mean? Like, we give all our power to this thing, not by being on it all the time. I mean, yes, that's a problem. That's big thing is, since I started thinking about this, is I've way curved my personal use. If I'm on Facebook, it is for band business. I allow myself 3 personal posts a day at most. And if I hit 3, and if I go over 3, I don't post anything the next day personal. I keep it all business or all First Angel Media or all whatever. You know what I mean? Because that's an amazing thing you can use it for. Like, a guy like me doing this kind of music 20 years ago wouldn't have had a chance. But because of social media, I do. So, like, people who say, like, well, we should just shut it all down, but you can pry it out of my cold, dead hand. Why don't you learn how to use it better? You know, why don't you be an adult and take some responsibility? Why don't we all do that? So that led to the concept of the narcissistic cyborg. We all become that. We all become the narcissistic cyborg. Every time we think that the most important part of our day is logging onto Facebook and going to a comment section and just screaming about somebody about something that we are just so insanely certain we are right about. Maybe we are, maybe we aren't. Point of the matter is, very few of us have the guts to have that same conversation face to face. We want to have it online so we don't get our noses broken when we cross the line, which we will inevitably do, because that boundary is not there. So it turns us all into the narcissistic cyborg. So that got this image in my head. So I wanted to create I was like, I'm just going to do a Photoshop thing. I want to create a cyborg taking a selfie of himself in the mirror, really pleased with himself, you know, like thinking he's looking good. But then you see in the shadow, half of him is just this horrific abomination, you know? So I took a picture of myself and started tweaking with it in Photoshop, added the cyborg bits, and I was like, that looks really cool. That's a cover of something. I don't know if it's an album. I don't know if I could base an entire album around it, but it's at least a single. And then I started writing the song. But so the song was almost like scoring the picture, you know, because the picture came first, just like the whole album did. I had the album cover for Crim before I wrote a single note. Now that I have the album, same with Beelzebub. Now that I have the image, I have a world, and then I score the world like a film composer. That's always been my process. And in fact, Dusty did the same thing. He would always design the album. He was the graphic designer when he was alive. He would always design the visuals before we wrote a single note of music, because it gave us a direction to go into. So, and now we have a song. Wasn't supposed to be a song. It was just supposed to be me playing around.
All right, so now I have another question to ask you, and then and then we'll play the song.
Okay,
I don't normally do that, but it fits right in.
Okay, cool.
All right, so let's imagine that there was an apocalyptic event that happened, and only a handful of people survive, and one song from every band survives, and those songs are used to help repopulate the earth.
Wow.
Which one of your songs should survive and take that tour of duty?
Oof. Okay. It's actually not going to be an Emzy Enzy song. I think it's going to have to be the song that I spoke about that I did with Revolution on the Wings of Beast that I wrote for Dusty. It's going to have to be that song. There are fewer songs I've done that I'm more proud of. And a lot of it was the fact that I wasn't going to release that song originally. I just wrote it to just kind of get it out. And it was actually meeting Brian who heads up Revolution that kind of yanked that song back out of my archives. You know what I mean? And part of it is just what they do. I'm a huge fan of that band. I'm a huge fan of what they do. And I wanted the Revolution treatment on that song, and they gave it. And it's like, it's the perfect marriage of our two styles. And it's probably the most personal thing I've ever written. So it's probably going to have to be that song.
All right. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take a moment. We're going to listen to Narcissistic Cyborg, and then we'll be right back with Caleb. For those of you that are checking us out live, you do not get to hear that song now because YouTube and Facebook don't like it when you play music. And the whole purpose of this is to get heard, and we don't want to be muted. So
you'll hear it later, I guess.
Yes.
Come back tomorrow or something.
August 15th.
August 15th. All right. August 15th, you'll hear the song.
You'll be able to hear it by going to buildthescene.com, or it airs on our radio station there. It'll be there 24/7 as well. And it also airs on rootarooradio.com. They play the shows on Saturday and Sunday, I believe. Yeah, Saturday and Sunday.
That's awesome.
But I can't remember the exact time. But it's listed on the podcast page. You'll see it shows all the times that the show airs. So
very good. That's cool.
This one is a little harder. Like Pennsylvania Rock Show has lots of radio stations, but that one I'm really good at keeping it to right around an hour.
Okay.
This one fluctuates too much.
Yeah, I get you. No worries.
All right. So we're going to come back. And just like normal, if you've listened to this show before, I'm going to ask a question that is actually Doug Carnahan's question from last episode, and we'll edit him in later.
Yeah.
But that's where we're headed.
Okay, cool.
Okay, that was Emzy Enzy and the track Narcissistic Cyborg. I'm surprised that's the first time I messed that one up.
Yeah, it is a bit of a mouthful.
And what we're going to do now is Doug Carnahan, who has a solo album coming out next month and is the lead singer of the band After the Fall, asked Caleb a question, and we're going to let him go ahead and ask that. And his question is a shortened version. What made you choose the heavy direction with your music? What made you stick with it over the years instead of picking a different direction?
So, yeah, this is like multiple parts to my answer. So I'll keep it as, concise as I can, but I'll also explain it as thoroughly as I can. So since I didn't start Emzy Enzy necessarily, I mean, I was a co-founder, but I didn't really decide the heavy direction, actually. Dusty did. He got into heavier music before I did, and then he sort of drugged me into it. And the more that he played it around me, and the more I realized, I guess, that I, like him, had a lot of things that I was angry about, the more it sort of seeped into my skin. I was like, okay, now I'm really starting to like this. That being said, that's not the only kind of music I make. My catalog from even within Emzy Enzy, not even just my solo stuff, but even, I mean, there's like, there's a song on our second record that's like a complete lounge song. There's no metal at all in it. There's one song on our second record that's just a string arrangement. There's a song that's like big tribal drums and acoustic guitars. So we go all over the place. I mean, I think the reason why, it's a good, I'm not knocking his question. I think it's a good question. It's a question that I've actually been asked before. And I've always felt like I couldn't answer it adequately, because I always wanted to turn around and be like, well, I don't know. Why do you listen to whatever you listen to? Can you really say, at the end of the day, do any of us know why we like what we like? I mean, why do I like my steak medium rare and, want to like grow hair and pull it out when I see people eating it well done? I just, because it's me, I don't know. I mean, to me, like, now I will say this. I think this is the best way.
I think the answer to your steak question is you live in Texas.
Yeah, that's probably accurate. I don't have a lot in common with Texans, but that is one thing, man. My meat eating habits are very Texan. But yeah, I do come from the school of, I guess it depends on why you do music. Here's why I do music. I make music to sort through my stuff and to hopefully come out of the end of the tunnel a better human being. And so my purpose for doing that obviously is not, yes, I want to help other people, but ultimately it's kind of selfish. I'm doing it to feel better about myself. I think most musicians, that's the case to some extent. And so my methodology within that intention has always been to just be as honest as I can possibly be, in whatever it is I'm creating. I don't come from just music. I've worked in independent film. I've worked in theater as a director and as an actor. And I approach an album or a song a lot like I approach directing a play or a movie, which is, what is the world of this piece of art? And what are the rules of that world? And what makes sense within that world? And what is the emotional content? Because ultimately what I find my fans respond to is what is the emotional content of the song. I don't ever hear like, dang, I love that breakdown. Well, maybe I've heard things like that here and there. Like, I love that breakdown or whatever. Or I love the drums here, but most of it, what my hardcore fans react to is like, this song helped me, like this song told a story that I gravitated towards. And so I consider, what is the emotional content of the song? And then thinking like a director or a painter with a paintbrush. Okay, what color, what texture best illustrates that emotional content? And nothing says I'm unhappy like Double Kick, man. I don't know. It's like, I don't know that I consider myself a metal artist necessarily, but I do use a lot of metal as a paintbrush. I also use a lot of jazz, a lot of hip hop, a lot of avant-garde, a lot of synth, a lot of even some new age, but it's all paintbrushes to me. Genres are paintbrushes to me. And I choose whatever paintbrush illustrates that emotional statement the best. So yeah, it's like if you've heard Narcissistic Cyborg, or you've heard Symphony of the Broken Machine, or you've heard My Kindness, and that's all you've heard, yeah, you're gonna think we're a metal band. You know what I mean? But then you listen to an album all the way through, and then you're gonna think there's something wrong with us. And there is, because we go everywhere. I mean, my bass player, we have a lot of songs where my bass player plays an electric upright, with a bow. Like metal bands don't do that. Not that I know of anyway. So that, I guess, like, even in my solo stuff, which is far less metal pops up because that is a part of my roots, heavy. And when I say metal, I'm being very broad. I mean heavier music. Like, I'm a little more punk and industrial than I am like metal, like, I'm from Texas, so obviously Pantera is like way up there on my list of influences, but like, that's probably the most metal band I listen to, like just pure meat and potatoes metal. I think they're the kings of it, But beyond that, I find that a lot of the heavier artists I listen to, if there's not first of all, if there's no melody, I'm very rarely interested. I like melody. I sing melodically. If you just heard Narcissistic Cyborg, I mean, it's basically a pop song with double kick, because that hook is a pop hook, you know? And I find that I can't really get away from that, because that's the first kind of music I listened to was pop, you know? So that's still in there, you know? Then when I was a teenager, I started gravitating more towards hip hop and R&B. And that's definitely there, especially with the way I do a lot of my melodic vocals. That's way in there, you know? You have to dig for it a little bit. But of course, what stands out to people, especially if they don't listen to heavier music, is the metal elements, you know? I think that, like, for whatever reason, metal and rap have this in common. Once you go anywhere near that direction, you're expected to stay there, you know? That's not necessarily true for other genres, you know? Like, I mean, country fans, say what you will, are a lot more open-minded in general than metal fans are. You know, in my experience, you know. Now, hip hop, that, especially in recent years, especially in the underground, has just exploded in all kinds of cool, crazy, creative directions. More than metal, if I'm being honest, in a lot of ways. More artists anyway. So it's like, it feels like hip hop even can be a lot of different things, you know. But for whatever reason, it's like, and in movies, the equivalent is horror. Once you touch the horror genre, you're expected to stay there. And if you don't start in horror, you're never expected to go there. You know, it's like when Jordan Peele went from like Key and Peele to directing like horror films, everybody went, what? You know what I mean? If he had gone from Key and Peele to directing period dramas, there wouldn't have been as big a reaction, honestly, if he'd made one switch to the other. But because like horror is an extreme genre and metal is an extreme genre, you know, those are the things that poke out if you play with them at all, you know. So I guess the best way I can answer that question is to say sometimes a really loud guitar just gets my point across like nothing else does. But sometimes a saxophone does. So it just depends on what side of the bed I wake up on that day. But that's the way I like to listen to music too. You know, I enjoy my musical heroes are guys like Mike Patton and David Bowie and guys that just go all over the place. You know, that's what I'm into. So.
So we're now at that point of the interview where we do the exit interview.
Okay. Cool.
Where can people pick up copy of your music, and where can they find you online?
Well, the best place to go is www.emzyenzy.com. EMZYENZY. Our preferred, and I'm always really honest about this, our preferred method of purchase right now, until we can afford to do physicals, until we have enough of a demand for that, is Bandcamp. And if you go to our website, up in the right-hand corner is a Bandcamp icon. You can click on it, and there's a lot of different ways you can support us through Bandcamp. First of all, you can pay us $5 a month and subscribe to our Bandcamp page, and you get everything as it's released, and you get crazy discounts on merchandise. All of our merchandise is sold through our Bandcamp page as well. We don't do Shopify or anything like that. We sell our merchandise straight through Bandcamp because Bandcamp offers the best deal for artists. That's why we ask people to support us in that way, because we keep more of the royalties. We get to spend more on our craft, on our art. We get to do more for you. There is more Emzy Enzy if you buy through Bandcamp. Obviously, we would love for you to follow us on Spotify. You know, we would love for you to follow us on YouTube, but I cannot emphasize Bandcamp enough. If you really, really want to see us do what we could possibly do, man, hit us up on Bandcamp, buy our records, buy our merch, or just subscribe and, you know, get it all. If you subscribe, you get our entire discography immediately. And also, as we release new songs, like when the new single comes out on the 6th, if you subscribe to us on Bandcamp, boom, you got the new single immediately. Right. It instead of like following us on Spotify and we get a few cents for your business. If you subscribe to us for $5 a month on Bandcamp, we get to keep $5 a month, you know? So that's always what I push the most, is our Bandcamp page. But obviously, yes, hit us up on Spotify, on YouTube. EmzyEnzy.com has links to all this stuff. Explore. There's a link about my solo stuff, link to all of our social medias and all that stuff. So that's headquarters, man. That's the place to go.
And finally, what's coming up for you as an artist?
Man, I am working on a lot right now, which is what just the nature of this business, I guess. So I do have the Broken Machine Blues single coming out on August 6th. That's the next big release, and there's going to be a music video for that. I can't promise the music video is going to be done by the 6th because of how picky I am as a director, but I'm really excited about the direction it's going. It's if you only know us for Narcissistic Cyborg and songs of that ilk, this single and this video are really going to tilt your head like all the way around. Like we're going to, I mean, you may hate it. I don't know. I honestly can't say. Like if you're one of those metalheads that wants to keep it metal, then this is going to really, really tick you off. And we don't care. And then after that, I've got a couple different collaborations, people I'm talking to. We've got some, the new merch. I mentioned the tea. We've got some Emzy Enzy Fallen 8 shot glasses that are coming out to coincide with the Beelzebub bourbon release. We may even do liquor bottles at some point. I'm not sure. Talking to somebody about that. I am very, very, very early in the process of talking to me and somebody very close to me about possibly starting a record label that would at first house my projects and then possibly expand to others and be the real deal, like not just like a vanity thing, but like an actual functioning business. Really early about that, so I don't even know if I should have said that much, but that's something I'm looking at doing. That's something I'm looking at doing, especially as I get more and more inspired by what like Brutal Business and labels like that are doing. I have there is a film script I'm writing. I haven't dabbled in film in a really long time, but I'm writing a script and really looking at getting it made. And I also want to produce a soundtrack record to coincide with it, and which will feature music from me and I'm hoping some friends as well. I'm like some other collaborators. I kind of want to make like my version of the Lost Highway soundtrack. It's like one of my favorite film soundtracks of all time. I love the variety of it and how it flows almost like it's like a little audio movie, and it has different artists on it. And I kind of want to make something like that to coincide with the movie. And starting to gear up for a covers album as well as Caleb Straus. So that's my next solo project, is going to be a covers album. And then just continuing to drip release the 2 Emzy records and the Skeletal Shroud EP. I mentioned that actually at the beginning too. I mean, we're working slow on that because I think we're still kind of choosing what songs are going to be on it, but we'll pop out with more information on Skeletal Shroud soon. That's going to be a cool project. So there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot.
And then whatever writing comes your way for First Angel as well.
Absolutely. Right? Yeah. I'm actually on a review right now. I'm hoping to hear back from the dude today. I'm covering a band. I'm covering really, really heavy metal band out of Pittsburgh. I forget their name, but yeah, no, it's going to be cool. I'm excited to delve into that. I've been wanting to hear something like really brutal, and Joe told me it was really brutal. So I said, yeah, I got it. Give it to me.
Oh, so, I remember seeing that conversation. I can't remember who it was either.
Yeah. It's the name's escaping me because I'm like on 5 different things right now. But I remember being really excited. Casket Maker. That's what they're called. Yeah, Casket Maker. Yeah. So yeah, I got a Casket Maker review. And we're also about to launch the First Angel Media Spotify playlist as well. So which Casket Maker will probably wind up on, as long as they say that's okay. So, yeah, I'm trying to update that every week, so yeah, lots of going on, lots of exciting stuff.
Okay. Well, Caleb, I want to thank you for hanging out with me for a little bit.
Yeah, thank you for having me, man. This was a lot of fun.
And this has been episode number 63 of 3 Questions and a Song. Our sister, I don't know if I like the word sister. Our other podcast, the Pennsylvania Rock Show, airs on each and every Friday on multiple streaming stations, but you can find it on buildthescene.com. You can find all of the interview sessions just like this one on First Angel Media as well. So if you like the videos, you can go back and watch the videos there. If you want to listen to the final polished version, then you want to go to buildthescene.com for that. The other thing that I have going on with Jonna and First Angel Media, well, many things, but Friendly Fire, which is a live show that Jonna and I do on XRP Radio, where we join
Tiz and Kat, and we take 7 or 8 songs from our scene and air them on XRP radio, which is in the United Kingdom, and they try and match it up with a similar genre or themed song, and then the chat box goes crazy discussing the songs. It's actually really fun.
That sounds like a ball. I'm gonna have to tune into one of those. That sounds really fun.
And you also can watch behind the scenes while the music is playing, because we do it just like this. We broadcast the video live, and you can hear us talking in between songs.
Cool.
And it gets kind of wild during that time.
Yeah, I will definitely have to check those out. That sounds like a lot of fun. Fun, dude.
That one is the second Saturday of each month. So
Cool.
that'll be the 14th of August.
Okay, cool.
So
awesome. Sounds fun.
So once again, make sure you check out Emzy Enzy. I'm going to go ahead and throw that website address up again at the bottom.
Thanks for showing those visuals. I appreciate that.
That's the first time I've used a screen share.
Really?
So,
that's cool. Yeah, it worked beautifully. I was like, oh, hey, there it is. Awesome.
Yeah, appreciate that. MZNZ.com. Hit us up. We would love to hear from you. Shoot us a message too. Sign up for our newsletter. We'll write you. We'll say hi. We would love to hear from you.
All right. So with that said, this has been episode 63. Make sure you check us out on the 1st and 15th of each month. My name is Bill, and I will catch you next time.